Joining me now, Mr. Robin Black, and a man that needs no introduction, Mr. Tito Ortiz. Tito, thank you so much for granting us the time. What brings you to Toronto?
I actually came out for a signing. I want to go to Montreal, but hey, UFC don't invite me. But at the same time, I'm here in Toronto and just doing some PR. I got great fans out here. Actually, one of my friends who brought me out, it's just one of those things. He does a great job. JT brought me out for the fans. Of course, I fought here in Toronto almost 2 years ago. God, time blows by fast, man. But the fans are great here, so I thought I'd come back, do some autograph signings, and just give back to the fans.
Did you bring us some Punishment athletic clothing?
Yes, actually I did. Yeah,
nice.
No, I brought a bunch of gear. Yeah, I was able to, bring it over on some bags. Just to give away to some fans at the same time, just here to support the fans.
Talk about your brand. Talk about Punishment Athletics. How it's done since its inception. Obviously, the last time we talked, you said that Canada buys a lot of Punishment clothing.
Yeah, actually, Canada's still #1. They buy all kinds of merchandise. I started out, and it was strictly a clothing company. A fan came up to me, and they asked, Tito, do you have a shirt with your picture on it? And you signed an autograph for me, and I was like, wow, what if I can do a shirt? And then all of a sudden, I went home, and my brother's like, God, you punished that guy. I go, punishment? What if I put punishment on a shirt, put TitoOrtiz.com underneath it, and sell it to fans, and $100 turned to $200, $200 turned into a clothing company, and that's when I started thinking of building brands and of my name, and it's strictly a punishment. I mean, every athlete goes through any type of punishment. Even a person in general, when they work, they go through punishment. It's just one of those things that, you work hard, you want to punish yourself to become the best, and that's the only way to do it. And if you want to become the best in the world, you got to go through some type of punishment. Either it's slapping the alarm clock at 5 in the morning, getting your butt into work, driving to work and working a 16-hour shift, or get in the gym and train as hard as you possibly can.
Tito, when you started, you were just a young fighter. Could you have ever imagined you're selling clothing, you got your clothing line, your whole brand, everything you're doing now?
Well, I had an idea, and not to the magnitude that it is. I mean, I own a clothing company, of course, Punishment Athletics, supplement line, Punishment Nutrition, my management company, Primetime 360, and actually my gym, Punishment Training Center, and able to give back to kids. Because that's what my whole goal in life was, to actually be able to give back to kids. I went to school for a physical education major, a minor in special education teaching. I want to help kids kind of really get off the streets, keep away from drugs, and work hard, in the gym. And I'm able to do that not only in a wrestling room where I really want to try to begin it, but now across millions across the world to really come down to watch what type of athlete and what type of inspiration I am. I mean, I don't want to be a role model, because the reason why I think that in my head is I don't want anybody to model my life. I think it really comes down to inspired to the things I've done through my career as a fighter, as a businessman, and as a father. I mean, I try to be the best father I possibly can be, and a businessman, the best businessman I can be. I mean, I worked for the last 15 years. I did my own negotiations through UFC. I've done my own negotiations on all my business ventures in Punishment Athletics, my nutrition line, Punishment Nutrition. I mean, everything I've worked hard to be. I watched Nike, I watched Reebok become, the biggest sport entire for athletic brand. Why can't MMA have that same type of brand as I've done through punishment? Every athlete goes through punishment. Every person in life in general goes through punishment. So let's rechange the word of just coming punishment, or just giving what you want to be, become the best in the world.
Management now, obviously going well for you.
Yes.
You've got Cyborg is one of your clients. I want to talk about the debate right now. Everybody's saying they want Cyborg to fight Ronda Rousey. Why can't there be two stars? Why can't there be a star in the 145-pound division and a star in the women's 135-pound division? I mean, when you were the champion and you were the star, there was still Pat Miletich, who was also the star.
Yeah, of course. And it really came down to you look at it and kind of they're segregating only one weight class in the UFC, and I think it's bad for the women who compete. I mean, there's different weight classes. 105, 115, 125, 135, 145, and Chris has been the best 145-pounder in Strikeforce that there is in the women's division. I mean, I train with the girl, I help her with the wrestling. I watch her hit pads, I watch her spar, and they got to bring guys in to spar with her because she can't spar women. She manhandles them, and she crushes the girls who she spars with. I'm like, all right, tone it down a little bit. But I think at the same general, it's just a time to grow. UFC needs to grow a little bit. And Dana all of a sudden said that UFC would never carry a women's division. All of a sudden, Ronda came up as a superstar now. She's one of the best 135 pounds, yes, but a woman's the best woman fighter ever? No way. Chris Cyborg by far is.
When you were managing yourself, you could put yourself out there, argue whatever you had to, take whatever stance you had to take for your career. Is it harder to do that for someone else?
It's difficult to do it for someone else because, I mean, I'm holding their career in their hands. Yeah. My goal to them is to make a brand of themselves, as I did through the UFC. I was able to market myself, and no other fighter understood that. You know, Liddell never understood. All those guys always just pretty much promoted the UFC strictly by them, without themselves, you know, included it. I was able to understand that I'm not going to be able to fight for the rest of my life. UFC is going to make billions and billions of dollars. What am I going to do when my career is done? And I never had anything to fall back on. I could never trust anyone. And I think it's just one of those things that I've really worked hard to be where I am today as a businessman, as a fighter, and making the next level for fighters to look where I've came from, look where I've stood for. I mean, integrity was a huge word for my life in general. And I wanted to keep that integrity no matter what. And I looked through my career, and I think I've done that hand over fist.
Cyborg going to be fighting for Invicta,
yes.
the premier women's mixed martial arts organization in the world. And why did you guys decide to go down that route? We heard that the UFC was interested. Why did you, as a manager, say, you know what, I think this is the best place for Cyborg?
Well, because UFC was only interested only in the factor that they're going to do a 135-pound weight class.
Right.
Actually, Ronda Rousey, I think, ran from Cyborg by going down to 135. She fought at 145. Why don't you stay at weight class the best woman in the world is fighting? And she thought she'd cut down to 135. The way it had an advantage against Chris is to make her cut down to 135 pounds. And I think that's really what it comes down to of going to Invicta, that they actually gave a chance for women in all divisions to compete. You know, and there's 5 weight classes in Invicta. How come they make those 5 weight classes in the UFC? As the weight classes already are in the UFC, I think it's just kind of segregating the women to strictly only fight in Invicta. You know, Shannon from Invicta does an amazing job promotion, gives these women an opportunity to compete at a level that, at the highest level in the world right now. And Chris, we made a contract negotiation. I did it as a manager thinking I'm going to give her a chance to fight in Invicta. Dana said that Chris is not really a thought to anybody. Well, she's going to go and she's going to become a world champion. She's going to defeat the number 2 contender in the world, the person she's fighting on April 5th on pay-per-view. And then she'll be fighting for the world title. And people understand how dangerous this woman is. I mean, you got to go and look at YouTube and check it out. Look at Christina Cyborg Santos, and you see how dangerous she is.
Yeah, I know. Lots of people that watch Fight Network, they know how dangerous this girl is. She's very deadly, got great ground skills. I think maybe one of the most underrated aspects of her game.
100%.
And I think that's what a lot of people see with this Ronda Rousey fight is Ronda taking her down to the ground and abusing her. And I know you don't believe that.
I watch her. I watch her take girls down, arm bar before they even hit the ground. This girl's amazing. But the scary thing is she punches and kicks like Vanderlei Silva when he was in his prime. I mean, she's mean. She don't mind getting hit. She stands in the pocket. I mean, not a lot of MMA fighters like to stand in the pocket besides some of the guys who are great boxers, great kickboxers. But at the same time, she has that skill, but she has the ground skill. You know, she's like a George St-Pierre, which is dangerous on her feet, dangerous on the ground.
I know it's a super fight everybody wants to see, Cyborg versus Ronda Rousey. We know that Ronda Rousey spent some time training with the Diaz brothers, and that's what we have to get to next. UFC 158 takes place in Montreal. Nick Diaz versus George St-Pierre. Nick Diaz doing what he needs to sell the fight, and I don't know why he continues to do it because the fight's already signed. It's going to happen. Do you think he's just playing mind games with George to try to throw him off?
No, it's all about promotion. Yeah. It's all about promotion. It's all about selling the pay-per-view, and he's doing an amazing job. I think he's stepped in the same shoes that I was when I was the bad boy for UFC, and I think he's doing an amazing job. I mean, I've never really not shown up to a press conference. I always did my job. I always did my job for promoting. Because my job was to educate the fans on what the sport was really about. Either the aggression before a weigh-in, after a weigh-in, little small things I did to sell a fight. But when it came to fight time, you got to fight the fight. Hope Diaz will step up and fight the fight against George St-Pierre because he's one of the best in the world, and he's shown it over and over again.
Tito, you mentioned that you pioneered this whole sort of vibe, this bad boy trash talking thing, and you did. That's why I want to ask you, we talk a lot about, you know, when a guy is trash talking the opponent, how they can get under his skin. But what kind of pressure does that put on the guy who's doing the trash talking? How does that affect him going in the cage?
Well, I think it really comes down to confidence. The confidence that Nick Diaz has. He's like no other fighter. He don't care when it comes to compete. He fights as hard as possible, and he puts on a show that fans want to see. He stands up and he punches and he tries to do the thing he possibly can to get the knockout. Against George St-Pierre, he has a great jab, a great right hand, great takedown. I think that's what's going to come down to win this fight. But to talk the trash, you do got to back it up. But, I mean, for me, I've always came in shape when I fought. I mean, guys who I defeated or lost to, it's always a great fight no matter what. I mean, I've never got knocked out unconscious or I'm blowing snot bulbs going, what happened? In throwing career, you know, I've been stopped twice, referee stoppage, and I think it was just because I didn't defend myself. I mean, it's one of those things in the sport that it happens, but every single fight I fought against, you know, top 5 contenders through my whole career, and UFC never gave me an opportunity to fight lower weight guys, or excuse me, smaller guys who are working their way up. It was always guys who have established themselves, are undefeated records, and they're trying to build my name off of their, or excuse me, build their name off my name, and they did it. I mean, you look at Machida, you look at Ryan Bader to get an opportunity, you look at Forrest Griffin, you look at Rashad Evans, guys who had competed at their time, they're undefeated, or they put on great fights, and we put on great fights no matter what, and I think fans loved it.
Robin talks about the pressure. We've seen it in the past where, like, Michael Bisping talked trash to Dan Henderson. Is there a point where you're like, I don't need to give this guy any more motivation to bring his A game? And when you start antagonizing somebody, you could see where there's like, okay, not that they weren't getting up for the fight, but now they're really getting up for the fight.
Builds that pressure even more.
Well, it builds the pressure. I mean, it gives an opportunity for a storyline for the fans to go, I want to see that guy get crushed. I want to see that guy kill that other guy. I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, you look at professional wrestling, I mean, I kind of bit the same type of thing they did, but I found the same idea with Muhammad Ali where he'd get in a guy's head and he'd just battle, and it was mental warfare, I thought. I mean, that's what, in my mind, but I think it's a confidence thing that you just keep talking. And at one point, you will get under the person's skin. And does Diaz get under GSP's skin? We're going to have to see.
What's next for you?
What's next for me, of course, my management company, continue on with that. I got a few more signings for the rest of the year. Just go out and try to reach out to fans, of course. I train my gym on Tuesday and Thursday for kids class. I teach a kids class at my gym at Punishment Training Center. You got to give back. I mean, I don't care how big my name is. I don't care who I am. I always want to give back to, you know, my community and work for kids and just keep my idea of just helping kids as much as possible. And there's a few kids I put on my wing, and they all of a sudden they went from having D's and C's in school to all of a sudden be on the honor roll. And actually, Davey, if you do get a chance to hear this, the kid is amazing. And a lot of little girls who take it too, they walk in like Bambi on ice. And by the 4th, 5th year, all of a sudden they have a wrestling stance and they get in a good position. It's cool, and it's cool just to see because wrestling actually teaches dedication, you know. And then I watch for the Olympics how they're trying to take out wrestling.
Ridiculous.
And it's not giving an opportunity for kids to go through school wrestling, through high school wrestling, through college wrestling, become Olympic champs. And I think that's really bad because wrestling did save my life. Of course, you guys can take a shirt that I made for it.
Beautiful.
Because it saved my life. You know, my real name is Jacob. Everybody ever read the Bible and they see that Jacob wrestled an angel. The angel saved his life and changed his whole life. And wrestling changed my life. And that's why it's my opportunity to give back, hopefully save wrestling in the Olympics.
He is one of the legends of mixed martial arts. Don't go anywhere. More still to come.